Another drop in tourism. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority releasing its latest report showing fewer visitors in September.
Something is happening in Las Vegas. Something the casino industry would rather not discuss. The hotels are still lit up. The slot machines are still spinning. The billboards still promise the time of your life. But if you look a little closer, something feels off. Visitor numbers are quietly dropping. Repeat travelers are choosing not to come back. And the tourists who do show up are spending less, complaining more, and leaving earlier than they used to. Las Vegas generated over $40 billion in tourism revenue in 2023. That sounds impressive. But behind that number, something is shifting. The crowds look thinner on weekday mornings. Restaurant lines that used to stretch around the corner are shorter now. And if you spend 5 minutes reading recent hotel reviews, a pattern starts to emerge. One the industry would rather you ignore. People are not just disappointed, they feel like they got played. The question is not whether Las Vegas is still making money. It clearly is. The real question is why so many people are quietly deciding that Vegas is no longer worth the trip. And the answer to that question is more complicated than anyone is letting on. Las Vegas was not always this expensive, and it was not always this complicated to visit. For decades, the Strip operated on a simple and surprisingly generous model. Casinos kept room rates low, sometimes absurdly low, because they made their real money on the floor. A cheap hotel room was not a loss, it was an invitation. Get the visitor through the door, keep them comfortable, and the gambling revenue would take care of everything else. That model built an entire city. It turned a patch of Nevada desert into one of the most visited destinations on Earth. At its peak, Las Vegas was welcoming over 42 million visitors per year. Budget travelers, high rollers, families, bachelor parties, convention groups. There was a version of Vegas for almost everyone. Then, something changed. The shift did not happen overnight. It crept in slowly, deal by deal, merger by merger, fee by fee. The major casino corporations, MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, Wynn Resorts, consolidated their power across the Strip. And as competition between properties decreased, the pressure to keep prices low decreased along with it. By 2019, resort fees alone were generating an estimated $2.4 billion annually across Las Vegas properties. That number has only grown since. What was once a city that practically paid you to visit has become one of the most fee-heavy hospitality markets in the entire United States. And here is what makes this story interesting. Las Vegas did not raise prices because it was thriving beyond capacity. It raised prices at exactly the moment when its competitive advantages were starting to erode. New gambling markets were opening across the country. Online betting was pulling dollars away from physical casinos. The customer base that once had no alternative was suddenly discovering that they had options. The city responded to that pressure not by offering more value, but by extracting more revenue from the visitors who still showed up. That decision is now catching up with them. Let's look at the numbers, because the numbers tell a story that the marketing campaigns do not. Las Vegas Strip gaming revenue reached approximately $7.1 billion in 2023. On the surface, that looks strong. Compared to the pandemic years, it genuinely was a recovery. But when you adjust for inflation, when you account for the dramatically higher prices visitors are now paying just to walk through the door, the picture becomes more complicated. Visitation to Las Vegas in 2023 came in at around 40 million visitors. Still a large number. But the city was regularly hitting 42 to 43 million visitors in the years before 2020. The gap is not catastrophic, but it is consistent. And in a business built on volume, consistent decline is worth paying attention to. Now look at what those visitors are spending their money on. Gaming revenue, the core of what Las Vegas was built around, has been growing more slowly than the overall tourism economy. Non-gaming revenue, which includes hotels, restaurants, entertainment, and nightlife, has been carrying more of the weight. That shift sounds like diversification, and in some ways it is. But it also reflects something uncomfortable. Visitors are coming to Las Vegas and choosing to spend less time and less money gambling than they used to. Part of the reason is simple mathematics. When a visitor pays $30 for parking, $35 per night in resort fees, $22 for a cocktail, and $60 for a buffet that used to cost $20, there is less discretionary money left for the casino floor. The property is extracting revenue at every touch point, but it is doing so in a way that compresses the visitor's budget before they even sit down at a slot machine. Caesars Entertainment reported a net loss of $879 million in 2023, partly driven by its significant debt load from the 2020 merger with Eldorado Resorts. MGM Resorts posted stronger numbers, but continues to rely heavily on its non-gaming segments to offset slower growth in core gaming. Wynn Resorts has leaned increasingly on its Macau operations as domestic margins tighten. These are not companies on the verge of collapse. They are massive, deeply entrenched operations with access to capital and decades of brand equity. But the financial pressure is real. And the way they are responding to that pressure, raising fees, cutting service staff, squeezing more revenue per visitor, is directly contributing to the dissatisfaction that is driving tourists away. There is a term in business for this kind of dynamic. It is called a value destruction spiral. You raise prices to protect margins. The customer experience declines. Fewer customers return. And the cycle continues to compensate. And the cycle continues until something breaks. Las Vegas is not in a crisis, but it is showing early symptoms of exactly that pattern. To understand why tourists are leaving Las Vegas, you have to understand what the rest of the country has been doing while Vegas was busy raising its prices. 10 years ago, if you wanted legal casino gambling in the United States, your options were limited. Las Vegas was the obvious choice. Atlantic City was a distant second. And beyond that, you were looking at scattered tribal casinos that offered a fraction of the experience. That landscape has changed dramatically. Today, legal gambling is available in 40 states. Sports betting alone has exploded across the country since the Supreme Court opened the door in 2018. By 2023, Americans were wagering over $100 billion per year through legal sports betting platforms. That is money that previously had no legal home. A significant portion of it used to flow toward Las Vegas trips. Now, it stays in living rooms, on smartphones, and in local sports books that have opened in cities across the country. The competition is not just digital. Physical casino markets have matured in places that once sent their gamblers to Vegas. Florida has been expanding its gaming footprint steadily. Texas, despite not having full casino legalization, sees billions of dollars flow to Oklahoma and Louisiana from its residents every single year. Oklahoma alone has become one of the largest casino markets in the United States, largely built on customers who find Vegas too expensive and too far. And then there is the broader tourism competition. International travel rebounded sharply after the pandemic. European destinations, Southeast Asia, Japan, and Mexico all saw strong recovery numbers as American travelers rediscovered their appetite for overseas trips. Las Vegas, which had positioned itself as the domestic alternative to international travel, suddenly found itself competing directly with destinations that offered genuine cultural experiences at comparable or lower total costs. A family of 4 can fly to Cancun, stay at an all-inclusive resort for a week, and spend less than they would on a 3-night Las Vegas trip when you add up flights, resort fees, meals, entertainment, and the inevitable gambling losses. That comparison is not hypothetical. Travel forums and social media are full of people doing exactly that math and reaching exactly that conclusion. The demographic pressure is also worth noting. Older travelers who built the habit of annual Vegas trips are aging out of the market. Younger travelers, millennials and Generation Z, have shown a clear preference for experience-driven travel over destination gambling. They are interested in concerts, food culture, outdoor adventure, and social media-worthy moments. Las Vegas has tried to capture that audience. But a casino floor surrounded by expensive hotels and restaurants does not naturally align with what that generation is looking for. Las Vegas is not being abandoned, but it is no longer the automatic first choice it once was. And for a city whose entire economy depends on being exactly that, the shift in market context is more significant than the headline revenue numbers suggest. Here is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the decline in Las Vegas tourism is not simply bad luck. It is not the result of forces entirely beyond anyone's control. A significant part of what is happening today is the direct consequence of strategic decisions that made perfect sense on a quarterly earnings call, and very little sense when you look at the long-term health of the destination. The first and most fundamental flaw is what you might call the extraction mindset. At some point in the last decade, the major casino operators shifted their philosophy in a way that fundamentally changed the visitor experience. The old model was about creating an environment where people wanted to stay longer and come back again. The new model is about maximizing revenue per available room, per meal served, per transaction processed. Those two goals sound similar. They are not. When MGM or Caesars adds a mandatory resort fee to every room booking, they are not adding value. They are adding a charge for things the visitor already assumed were included. Parking used to be free on the Strip. Now, the same properties that once competed for your car are charging $20 to $30 per day. The pool that was once a perk of staying at the hotel now sometimes requires a separate day pass, even for registered guests. Each of these, individually, seems like a minor inconvenience. Together, they fundamentally change how a visitor feels about the experience. And how a visitor feels matters enormously in a discretionary spending market. The second strategic flaw is the homogenization of the Strip. Walk the Las Vegas Strip today and count how many properties feel genuinely distinct from one another. The casino floors look increasingly similar. The restaurant concepts rotate through the same celebrity chef names. The entertainment offerings overlap. The loyalty programs from competing companies are nearly interchangeable. Las Vegas used to be a collection of distinct personalities. The Bellagio felt different from Mandalay Bay. The Venetian had a character that set it apart. Today, as corporate consolidation has tightened its grip, that distinctiveness is fading. And when every property feels like a variation of the same experience, visitors have very little reason to stay loyal or to return. The third flaw is perhaps the most damaging. It is the failure to invest meaningfully in mid-market value. Las Vegas has done an excellent job of building ultra-luxury experiences at the top end of the market. The high roller suites, the Michelin-starred restaurants, the exclusive nightclubs. That segment is genuinely world-class. But the middle of the market, the traveler who wants a quality experience without spending $3,000 for a weekend, has been progressively squeezed out. Properties that once served that segment have been repositioned upward or allowed to deteriorate without meaningful reinvestment. The result is a destination that has become aspirationally expensive without delivering aspirational value for most of the people who visit it. Visitors arrive expecting the Las Vegas they saw in movies or experienced 10 years ago. What they find instead is a place that feels like it is working very hard to separate them from their money before they even have a chance to enjoy themselves. That gap between expectation and reality is not a marketing problem. It is a product problem, and it cannot be fixed with a better advertising campaign. When a business is under pressure, it rarely announces it directly. What it does instead is make a series of quiet decisions that, taken individually, seem like normal operational adjustments. Taken together, they tell a very different story. Las Vegas has been sending those signals for a while now. Start with staffing. In 2023, MGM Resorts reached a new labor agreement with the Culinary Workers Union after prolonged negotiations that brought the city to the edge of a major strike. The dispute was not just about wages, it was about workload. Union members reported that staffing levels had been cut significantly since the pandemic, with remaining employees expected to cover more rooms, more tables, and more responsibilities than before. MGM eventually settled, agreeing to wage increases and some staffing commitments. But the underlying tension revealed something important. The companies had used the pandemic as an opportunity to reduce their labor costs permanently, and the workforce had noticed. The impact on service quality is something any recent visitor to the Strip can speak to firsthand. Housekeeping, once a daily standard at nearly every Las Vegas hotel, has quietly become an opt-in service at many properties. You now have to request it. Room service menus have been reduced or eliminated entirely at hotels where they were once a standard offering. Casino floor attendants are harder to find. Wait times at restaurants have grown longer while staff numbers have shrunk. These are not dramatic failures. They are small, incremental degradations that accumulate into an experience that feels noticeably worse than what the same properties were delivering 5 years ago. Then are the leadership signals. The casino industry has seen a notable amount of executive turnover in recent years. Caesars Entertainment has cycled through significant leadership changes as it works to manage the debt burden left by its merger. Several Strip properties have undergone management restructuring that, from the outside, looks less like strategic evolution and more like crisis response. When companies are performing well and feeling confident about the future, leadership tends to be stable. Turnover at the top is rarely a sign of strength. Capital expenditure patterns are also telling. Several mid-tier Strip properties have visibly deferred renovation and reinvestment. Carpets that should have been replaced years ago. Rooms that feel dated in ways that photographs on booking apps carefully avoid showing. Public spaces that feel worn. These are properties where ownership has made a deliberate calculation that the cost of reinvestment does not justify the return in the current environment. That calculation might make sense in the short term, but it accelerates the very decline it is trying to manage. There is one more signal worth mentioning. Casino floors themselves are shrinking. Not dramatically, but measurably. Several major properties have converted portions of their gaming floor into retail space, restaurant expansions, or event areas. That shift reflects the reality that gaming revenue per square foot has been declining, and the properties are quietly acknowledging it by dedicating less physical space to gambling. None of these signs point to imminent collapse, but they point clearly in one direction. At some point, the numbers stop mattering, because this is no longer just an economic problem. It is a psychological one. Las Vegas has always depended on a very specific feeling: anticipation, excitement, the sense that anything could happen the moment you step onto the Strip. That feeling is fragile, and once it breaks, it is extremely difficult to rebuild. Today, more and more visitors are arriving in Las Vegas already on guard, checking their bills line by line, questioning every charge, calculating every decision before they make it. The mindset has shifted from exploration to defense, and that changes everything. A vacation built on spontaneity cannot survive in an environment where every moment feels transactional, where every interaction carries the possibility of an extra fee, where the guest is no longer asking, "What should I do next?" but "How much is this going to cost me?" The magic of Las Vegas was never just the lights or the casinos. It was the illusion of freedom, the temporary suspension of consequences. That illusion is fading. Instead of feeling like a place where rules don't apply, Vegas is starting to feel like a system that is always one step ahead of you, calculating, optimizing, extracting. And once a visitor starts to feel that way, something fundamental shifts. They don't complain loudly, they don't organize protests. They simply decide not to come back. No loyalty program can fix that. No marketing campaign can hide it. Because trust, once broken at scale, does not fail dramatically. It disappears quietly. Las Vegas is not collapsing. Not today, not tomorrow. The lights will stay on. The casinos will keep operating. The revenue reports will continue to show billions of dollars flowing through the system. But that is not the same as being healthy, because what is happening right now is slower, less visible, and far more difficult to reverse. Las Vegas is losing its default position. For decades, it did not need to compete. If you wanted gambling, entertainment, escape, you went to Vegas. That was the equation. That equation no longer holds. Now every trip is a comparison. Every dollar has alternatives. Every visitor is asking the same quiet question: is this still worth it? And for a growing number of people, the answer is no. Not because Las Vegas failed all at once, but because it changed, piece by piece, into something less compelling than it used to be. More expensive, less personal, less surprising. A place that still demands attention, but no longer earns it. The danger is not that tourists will suddenly stop coming. It is that they will come once and never return. And in a city built on repeat visitors, that is where the real risk begins. Las Vegas does not need to lose everyone. It only needs to lose enough, quietly, consistently, over time. And by the time the industry fully recognizes what has changed, it may already be too late.